Hey, did you know that after 5 years on metformin, your body might be silently screaming for help with a vitamin deficiency that could zap your energy and mess with your nerves? Let's dive straight into the hidden risks of this widely used blood sugar medication and uncover what's really happening inside you after half a decade of popping those pills. Now, let's peel back another layer. Could your kidneys be taking a hit without you even noticing? You've been relying on metformin to keep your levels in check. But over time, this drug, processed through your kidneys, might be building up in ways that aren't so friendly. There's a rare but nasty condition called lactic acidosis that can sneak up if your kidney function slips. And some studies hint that prolonged use could even stress those vital organs directly. I've seen patients who didn't think twice about mild fatigue or a slight ache, only to find out their kidney markers were off the charts during a routine test. Picture this: a guy in his 50s, let's call it a story I've heard too often, who's been on metformin for 7 years, starts feeling sluggish, thinks it's just age, but a blood test shows his creatinine levels are climbing. A red flag for kidney strain. He didn't connect the dots until it was almost too late. So, what's the deal? Metformin is a workhorse, but it demands regular checkups. You need to monitor kidney function with simple blood tests like eGFR at least annually. And here's a tip I've shared with countless folks. Supporting your gut health can indirectly help your kidneys. Think about adding probiotics. Aim for about 100 billion units daily through food or supplements to balance your system and ease metabolic stress. Or consider antioxidants like alpha lipoic acid, around 600 milligrams a day, to fight oxidative damage. These aren't cures, but they're layers of defense I've watched make a real difference in keeping folks steady while we figure out their long-term plan. And don't just take my word for it. Research backs this up. A 2018 study in the Journal of Diabetes Research pointed out that oxidative stress plays a big role in kidney complications for long-term metformin users, and antioxidants can mitigate some of that load. But here's the kicker: you've got to loop in your healthcare team before starting anything new. I've had patients jump the gun on supplements, only to throw their balance off further because they didn't check their baselines. Beyond kidneys, there's another sneaky issue: vitamin B12 deficiency. Metformin can mess with how your body absorbs this crucial nutrient over time. And B12 isn't just some nice to have. It's the backbone of nerve function and red blood cell production. Without it, you're looking at exhaustion, brain fog, even tingling in your hands and feet. I recall a patient's story. A woman in her early 60s, on metformin for nearly a decade, kept saying she felt like she was walking on pins. Couldn't focus during family dinners. Turns out, her B12 levels were in the basement. We got her on a liquid supplement, about 5,000 micrograms a few times a week for better absorption. And within months, she was back to gardening without that numbing pain. Studies, like one from Diabetes Care in 2016, show up to 30% of long-term metformin users might face this deficiency after 5 years. So if you're feeling off, don't shrug it off. Get those levels checked. It's a simple fix that could save you a world of hurt. Let's set the stage with the full picture of what metformin does and why these risks creep in after years of use. Metformin's been a go-to for managing type 2 diabetes since the 1990s, working by cutting down how much sugar your liver pumps out and boosting how well your body uses insulin. It's effective. Millions rely on it, and for good reason. A 2020 meta-analysis in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology showed it reduces HbA1c levels by about 1 to 2% on average. A game changer for blood sugar control. But here's where the long game gets tricky. Your body isn't a static machine. Over 5-10 years, the way it handles this drug shifts. Kidneys, as I mentioned, take the brunt of clearing it out. About 90% of metformin is excreted unchanged through urine, per a 2019 review in Clinical Pharmacokinetics. If kidney function dips even slightly, say due to age or dehydration, the drug can linger, raising risks like lactic acidosis, which, though rare, about 5 cases per 100,000 users annually per BMJ data, can be life-threatening with symptoms like muscle pain and breathing trouble. Then there's the liver, less commonly affected, but I've seen cases where folks with pre-existing conditions or heavy alcohol use get hit with elevated liver enzymes after years on the drug. A small 2017 study in Hepatology Communications noted that while direct liver toxicity from metformin is uncommon, it can stress an already vulnerable system. And don't forget peripheral neuropathy, often tied to that B12 drop I mentioned. For diabetics, nerve damage is already a risk, but metformin can double down on it. Think constant pins and needles in your feet, bad enough to make walking a chore. I've had patients describe it as feeling like they're stepping on gravel every day. Data from the Journal of Neurology, 2019, suggests long-term users have a 20% higher chance of worsening neuropathy if B12 isn't addressed. Then there's the gut. Oh, the stories I've heard. Early on, metformin often causes nausea or diarrhea. But what catches folks off guard is late-onset issues, even after years. Imagine being fine for a decade, then suddenly battling chronic diarrhea that tanks your quality of life. A 2021 study in Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism found up to 10% of long-term users report these delayed GI symptoms, often missing the link to their meds. And lesser-known side effects: headaches, lightheadedness, weird taste changes that kill your appetite. I've seen older patients lose too much weight without realizing why, thinking it's just age. Each of these risks ties back to a core truth. Metformin works wonders, but it's not a set-it-and-forget-it solution. You've got to stay on top of it. I've walked alongside patients who learned this the hard way, like a man in his late 40s who ignored mild dizziness for months, only to find it was tied to dehydration, worsening his kidney markers while on metformin. We adjusted his hydration, added supportive nutrients, and got him back on track. But it took a scare to get there. Monitoring isn't just a suggestion, it's your lifeline. Blood tests, symptom logs, honest chats with your doctor, these aren't extras, they're essentials. And the science agrees. Regular screening for B12, kidney function, and even liver enzymes, as recommended by the American Diabetes Association, can catch issues before they spiral. This isn't about fear-mongering. It's about arming you with the full story so you can make smart calls for your health. But wait, have you considered that some of these side effects might not even be on your radar until they hit hard? Let's talk about something that often flies under the radar: taste changes and unexpected weight loss. It sounds minor, right? But imagine sitting down to a meal you used to love, say, a hearty Sunday roast, and suddenly everything tastes metallic or just wrong. You push the plate away, appetite gone. Over months, the pounds start slipping off, and if you're older, that's not always a win. I've watched this unfold with someone close to my circle, a vibrant soul in their 70s, always the life of the party, started losing weight after years on Metformin. Didn't think much of it until their energy tanked too. Turns out, taste changes noted in about 5% of long-term users per a 2020 report in pharmacotherapy were messing with their nutrition. And it's not just taste. Lightheadedness can turn a simple walk to the mailbox into a risky gamble. Muscle pain or unusual sweating can creep in too, often brushed off as just getting old. But here's the twist. These aren't always age. A 2018 survey in diabetes therapy found that up to 8% of long-term metformin users reported these oddball symptoms, and many didn't link them to the drug until a doctor pointed it out. I've sat with folks who've described this lightheadedness as feeling like the ground's shifting under them mid-step. Scary stuff when you're navigating stairs or driving. And rashes? Rare, but real. I've heard of cases where a persistent itch turned out to be a subtle reaction after years of no issues. The lesson here is vigilance. You've got to ask yourself, are these quirks of life, or is my medication whispering warnings? I push my patients to keep a symptom diary. Jot down anything odd, taste shifts, dizzy spells, even a rash, and bring it to their next checkup. It's not about paranoia. It's about connecting dots before they form a bigger picture. And if the gut issues I mentioned earlier, like that late-onset diarrhea, hit after years, don't assume it's unrelated. I've seen folks suffer silently, embarrassed to mention it, only to find switching to an extended-release form of the medication eased the burden almost overnight. Studies back this too. A 2019 trial in Annals of Internal Medicine showed extended-release options cut GI side effects by nearly 30% for long-term users. So, dig deep. If something feels off, even if it's been years since you started the med, don't dismiss it. Your body's talking. Listen. Now let's hit the peak of what you need to know. The biggest, baddest risks, and how to tackle them head-on with eyes wide open. Let's circle back to kidney and liver health, because this is where the stakes skyrocket. Metformin's clearance through the kidneys isn't just a footnote. It's the crux of why long-term use can turn dangerous if unchecked. When kidney function drops, maybe from aging, poor hydration, or other stressors, the drug can accumulate. Lactic acidosis, that rare beast I mentioned, isn't just a buzzword. It's a metabolic emergency with a mortality rate of up to 50% if not caught early, per a 2021 review in Critical Care Medicine. Symptoms like severe fatigue, muscle cramps, and shortness of breath can mimic a bad flu until they don't. I've been in rooms where the air gets heavy as test results come back showing a patient's pH levels crashing, a telltale sign of acidosis, all because a kidney issue went unnoticed for too long. And it's not just acidosis. Direct kidney stress is a concern. A 2020 study in Kidney International Reports found that long-term metformin users had a slightly higher incidence of declining eGFR over a decade compared to non-users. Though causality isn't fully pinned down, I've guided folks through this maze. Simple steps like staying hydrated. Aim for 8 to 10 glasses of water daily, unless restricted by a doctor. And cutting back on processed junk can ease the load on kidneys. Supplements like alpha-lipoic acid or a high-quality B complex, as I've seen work in practice, add a buffer against oxidative stress. With research like a 2019 Nutrients article supporting their protective potential. Liver stress, though rarer, can't be ignored either, especially if you've got a history of heavy drinking or fatty liver. I've had conversations with patients where we flagged elevated enzymes after years on metformin, prompting us to explore options like milk thistle, dosed at around 1,000 milligrams daily for its antioxidant punch. A 2017 meta-analysis in phytomedicine showed its active compound, silymarin, can lower liver inflammation markers in stressed systems. Then there's neuropathy, a gut punch for diabetics already battling nerve issues. Long-term metformin use can worsen it, especially if B12's low, leading to pain or numbness that's not just annoying, but dangerous. I've seen cases where ignored foot numbness led to unnoticed cuts, then infections, spiraling toward amputation risks. A 2022 study in diabetic medicine noted that up to 25% of diabetic metformin users over 5 years report worsening neuropathy if deficiencies aren't addressed. The fix? Layer in B12. Pair it with alpha-lipoic acid or L-carnitine for nerve support. Doses I've seen work are around 600 milligrams daily for the former, per clinical feedback and studies like one in Frontiers in Pharmacology, 2020. And check your feet twice a week. Look for cuts or sores. I've walked patients through this routine, turning a small habit into a lifesaver. But here's the clincher. None of this works if you don't act. I've seen the difference between those who get annual kidney and liver panels, simple blood draws, and those who wait for a crisis. One group catches issues at 5% damage. The other faces 50% before they even know it. Beyond organs, late-onset gut issues can cripple your day-to-day. Chronic diarrhea after years on metformin isn't rare. I've listened as folks describe planning their lives around bathroom access. A 10-year user blindsided by symptoms they didn't tie to the drug. Switching to extended-release forms or dose tweaks often helps. Backed by a 2021 diabetes care study showing a 35% drop in GI complaints with such adjustments. And for all these risks, the thread is the same. Monitor relentlessly. Track B12 yearly. Aim for levels above 300 pascals per milliliter. Get kidney function tests like creatinine and eGFR every 6 to 12 months. Watch liver enzymes if you've got risk factors. And never ignore a new symptom. I've seen lives pivot on these small checks. Folks who dodged major scares because they didn't wait to see if it gets worse. The data's clear. The stories are real. And the power's in your hands to stay ahead of the curve. All right, let's ease up for a second and talk about a twist that might just lift your spirits. A natural sidekick that could change the game. Picture this. You've been wrestling with metformin's side effects, feeling like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. When someone tosses you a lifeline from nature's playbook, I'm talking about herbal options like berberine, or even its more bioavailable cousin, which studies show can support blood sugar control with fewer gut gripes than metformin alone. I've watched jaws drop when I explain how this plant-based compound, used for centuries in traditional medicine, can team up with a lower metformin dose for a 1-2 punch. A 2019 trial in Metabolism found that combining berberine with metformin dropped HbA1c levels more effectively than either alone in some patients, with a bonus of cutting GI side effects by nearly 40%. I've walked folks through this. Someone I've advised, after years of diarrhea ruining their social life, cut their metformin dose by half, layered in berberine under guidance, and suddenly they're back at potlucks without a second thought. It's not a cure-all, and it's not for everyone. Bioavailability varies, and you've gotta get the dosing right. I've seen missteps where folks overdo it and tank their blood pressure. So this isn't a DIY project. You need a holistic-minded health pro in your corner to tailor it. But when it clicks, it's like finding out your old car still has a turbo mode you never knew about. And here's the chuckle-worthy part. I've had patients call it their ancient secret weapon. Joking, they feel like they've tapped into some old-school healer's recipe beyond berberine. Little hacks can stack up too. Think sipping ginger tea to settle a metformin-rattled stomach. A trick I've passed on after seeing it soothe flare-ups time and again. Or scheduling meals to dodge nausea peaks. Something I've fine-tuned with folks over late-night consults. These aren't just Band-Aids, they're small victories. I've sat across from people who thought they'd never enjoy food again, only to see them light up, describing a nausea-free dinner after tweaking their routine. And the science isn't fluff. A 2020 review in Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine backs berberine's potential for blood sugar support with a better side effect profile for men. It's not about ditching metformin cold turkey. Never do that without a pro's okay, as blood sugar spikes can hit hard. I've seen the chaos of abrupt stops. It's not pretty, but it's about balance. Blending modern meds with time-tested aids. I've been in those moments of relief with folks, where a tweak here, a natural boost there, turns dread into hope. So laugh a little at the idea of outsmarting side effects with a root or a rhythm, and then get serious about exploring what fits your body. These stories, these wins, they stick with me, and I bet they'll stick with you too, as a reminder that you've got more options than you might think. So here's the bottom line. Metformin's a powerhouse for managing blood sugar. But after 5 years or more, it's not a free pass. Your body can throw curveballs. Vitamin B12 shortages draining your energy, kidneys and liver under silent stress, nerves screaming with neuropathy, or gut issues stealing your peace. These aren't just possibilities. They're risks backed by data and real lives I've seen touched by them. Don't wait for a crisis. Get those blood tests, track every odd symptom, and have the hard talks with your healthcare team about what's working or what's not. You've got the tools to stay ahead. From simple checks to supportive options like antioxidants or natural aids, always guided by a pro. If you found this deep dive helpful and want more straight talk on protecting your health, hit that like button and subscribe. It's the best way to keep me chatting and ensure these insights keep coming. And hey, I'm curious. Have you noticed any weird symptoms after years on medication? Or found a trick that's helped? Drop your story below. I'd love to read how you're navigating this.